Chapter 2. 5 years earlier. God had blessed me with a new job. The pay wasn't great, but the benefits were outstanding, and the company was very family-friendly, something I desperately needed since I was now a single parent. A year into our marriage, my husband Tyrone had gotten his girlfriend pregnant, and to fix things, wanted to divorce me and marry her. Never mind our 2 children, barely 2 years old. He was set on doing the right thing, since he'd married me under similar circumstances. I guess I shouldn't have been so surprised. I'd been in my position for less than a month, and was still learning the ropes and my new coworkers. As an undesignated clerical assistant, the primary focus of my job was accounts payable, but I was also in charge of ordering supplies, so I had dealings with just about everyone in the facility. If they needed something, be it as small as an ink pen or a large piece of office equipment, they had to see me. The day Ron and I met, one of the ladies in the office was having a problem with management, and he'd come in to discuss it with her. As Ron was leaving, my manager Chris called me over and made the introductions. Nina Wallace, meet Ronald Parker. Ron, this is Nina. I said a brief hello. Ron smiled warmly and held out a beefy hand for me to shake. Hi. I'm glad to see they chose you. If you have any problems, come see me. During the various interviews and testing for my position, there had been a whole panel of people present. The supervisor I'd be working for if hired, 2 potential coworkers, the personnel manager, and apparently Ronald Parker. Having never been on that type of interview before, I didn't remember him being in the room. At the time, I'd been so stressed out about the whole thing that afterwards, I blanked a lot of it out of my mind. Having been out of work for over a month and with mouths to feed and young bodies to clothe, I really needed the work. Ron was some kind of employee liaison with management. We had no union, simply Ron, and a committee made up of managers, supervisors, and employees, striving to build a better work environment for all. He was also the building facilities maintenance supervisor, a sort of jack of all trades. If it broke, he could fix it. I made a mental note that Ron was the go-to man if I had a problem and promptly forgot him. Life was busy. I had 2 young kids in school and had recently purchased a house needing a lot of repairs. My children were in all sorts of after-school activities, and I was very active in my church. I didn't have the time, or interest, for a relationship. Besides, God had specifically told me not to date. When the time is right, I'll bring your husband to you, he said. When I'd asked why I couldn't date, he said my love-starved heart couldn't handle casual dating. I believed him, so certain of his promise, I was content to wait. It helped that no man seemed interested in me. Until Ron. Instead of being dismayed by the lack of male attention, I was grateful God was shielding me. I tend to be guarded and very reserved until I get to know a person. Despite having a very soft heart, I don't fall in love easily. However, once I do, it takes me forever to get over it. So I was still dealing with leftover emotions from my marriage. By some strange twist of fate, Tyrone never married the girlfriend. After she miscarried, my husband decided he didn't want a divorce after all. Tyrone didn't necessarily want to be married to me, but didn't want anyone else having me either. He fought our divorce, figuring he'd keep me in reserve until he was ready to give up the single life and become a mature, responsible husband and father. Then he'd settle down with me and the twins, and we'd be a nice little family. As a result, my divorce had taken years to obtain. Ron was persistent and very determined. When he first tried to gain my attention, my divorce had only been final for a few months. Romance was the last thing on my mind. He took my constant rejections to his lunch and dinner invitations with a graciousness I had to admire. Ron was very friendly, always present, and made his interest in me clear without being aggressive about it. Ron was not an attractive man, but he was nice and could be charming when he applied himself to the task. He was about 5'9", short for a man but a good height for my 5'5". His body was solid, thick, and very muscular. He wore his black hair cropped close to hide the gray in it, I believed, and had a neatly trimmed mustache and goatee. His nose had a bump in it from where it had been broken sometime in his life. However, his personality made up for his lack of physical beauty. After a time, I began to be more comfortable around Ron, dropping a bit of my guard. Short hallway conversations became longer. He started stopping by my desk whenever he was in the area, just to speak. Then, the invitations to buy me lunch began again. I turned him down, but I did allow him to bring his lunch to our office and sit at my desk to eat with me. Lunch only lasted a half an hour. I'd recently started working out at the gym. Ron was a fitness nut and had the muscular body to show for it. So, a lot of our lunch conversations revolved around weightlifting. He'd bring his muscle magazines with him and we'd discuss different weightlifting techniques for maximum results. People became used to seeing us together, and I got used to him being a part of my work life. They started including Ron in our office luncheons. Whenever we had a party, which was frequently, we were each allowed to bring one guest from another department. It became expected that Ron would be mine. This went on for over a year before I finally let him have my phone number. Ron would call at night once the kids were in bed. At first, our discussions were stilted. Ron tried hard to engage me in non-work related conversations, but I was being my normal awkward self. Other than being divorced and working for the same company, we didn't have much in common. I spent a lot of my time with my kids or at church. Ron rarely attended church and didn't have a local assembly to which he belonged. He believed watching services on television sufficed. His daughter was grown, my twins were in grade school. Ron drank and smoked, though he was trying to break both habits. I didn't drink alcohol and had never smoked. I'd been a Christian for years. Ron was a new convert. He was 14 years older than me, so there was a generation gap. Most of the music he liked was from the 60s and 70s. I didn't discover popular music until the 80s. We finally found some common ground. I'm really into do-it-yourself home repair projects. I figured, why pay someone good money to repair or remodel something, only to have them mess it up? If I did it myself and it came out wrong, at least I had the satisfaction of knowing I'd done my best and the joy of completing the project. Ron was a great source of information. With the bodybuilding, that was two things we had in common. And then we discovered we liked the same type of movies. It was enough to keep things going. 6 months later, Ron took our relationship to the next level by asking me out on our first date. And I said yes. I was nervous and unsure. Ron was a mature man, not a boy like my ex-husband, and I'd been out of the dating game a long time. We decided on a movie we'd both mentioned wanting to see, the latest in the Star Wars saga. On the way there, we discussed previous Star Wars movies, debating which one was best. After the movie, we talked about our favorite scenes. Ron asked if I wanted to stop for coffee, but the movie had lasted almost 3 hours. I was tired and ready to go home. He dropped me off with a gentle peck on the cheek. No uncomfortable scene at the door, no asking to come in. I was impressed. So, this is what dating an older man was like. I wondered why I hadn't tried this before. One date became two, and two became more, until we were officially a couple. For the first time in years, I had a man in my life. I was in a male-female romantic relationship, and it was nice. We spent hours talking on the phone, went on countless dates, and I gloried in feeling like an attractive, desirable female again. Feelings I'd lost after the fiasco with Tyrone. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't just a mom. I was a woman. I was falling in love and didn't even know it. Ron was like my little secret. Coworkers knew, but family, friends, and most importantly, my twins knew nothing about him. I spoke with him on the phone at night after they were in bed, and we went out on the weekends they were with their father. While I liked Ron and enjoyed being with him, I wasn't quite ready to trust him with my children. One day, after we'd been exclusively dating for about 6 months, Ron invited me out to lunch. He seemed a little nervous and a lot excited. He'd requested and received permission from my supervisor for me to extend my lunch to an hour so he could take me to a nice sit-down restaurant. There was a seafood place not too far from the workplace we both enjoyed. That day, over lunch, he told me how much he loved me and how happy he was I was in his life, and asked to marry me. Then he pulled out this gorgeous engagement ring, a round quarter-carat diamond solitaire with a gold band. Dazzled by the ring and shocked by the proposal and his words of love, the first time he'd said them, I said yes. I was over the moon. Back at the office, I couldn't wait to show all the ladies the ring he'd given me. Congratulations were expressed all around. One of the managers jokingly commented, "Ron got another one. Don't know how he does it." Since I knew Ron's ex-wife had also worked in my department before transferring to another facility after their divorce, I didn't take offense. Nothing could have dampened my joy. Then came the hard part. It was time to introduce Ron to my children and announce our engagement. Brianna and Brendan were shocked and upset. Their father had gone through several women by this time, but I had always been just theirs, or so they believed. I knew I was going to have to give them and myself time to get adjusted to the idea of my remarrying. Christmas went well. It helped that Ron gave the twins gifts that they actually liked, while their father purchased them nothing. Oh, Tyrone bought his live-in girlfriend's kids plenty, but his own? Seems he ran out of cash. The children were getting used to me having a man in my life, and while not exactly happy about Ron becoming a part of our family, they were resigned. Ron wanted to set a wedding date, but I didn't see the need to rush. I'd prayed about whom to marry and believed Ron was God's choice for me. I also knew I wanted to marry him, but I liked the peace and quiet of being able to return to my own house, to my own space, alone, after spending time with Ron. Then we became lovers, and everything changed.